have Ethan Pierse from NFT Factory Paris with us today. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us.
It's so fun to be here at WoW Summit. The energy, the excitement of people being either back in Hong Kong or in Hong Kong, but seeing other people come, and the whole Web3 subject, which is just rocking it here. It's been a fun day yesterday and today.
Lovely. Thank you. We're so happy every time we get to hear that people are having a good time. I'm super interested in knowing what NFT Factory Paris does.
Yep.
You're probably the only, brand for Paris here.
Yeah, there's a lot of international people here, but I don't think there are a lot of Frenchies. I'm an American Frenchie, so I'm a mixed breed. But so there's two things from the speaking stuff here. It either comes from the Crypto Assets Institute perspective, which is really helping brands, corporates, and funds understand Web3 and blockchain and how that can potentially impact or be leveraged by them. And then for the NFT Factory in Paris, it's a really interesting thing. It's a 400 square meter physical digital art gallery.
Oh, wow.
70-something screens. So when you walk in, it's just digital art all over the place. Right in the center of Paris, across from Pompidou, which is the large contemporary arts museum. And the mission of the factory is really to be France's Web3 ecosystem hub. And that seems weird for a lot of people. Why so much of, we're 128 co-founders, which seems a little, wow, okay, that's excessive. But the reality is it's people from companies like Ledger and Sorare and The Sandbox and Artifact and Blackpool and Harry and Dogami and all these different companies that if you're in Web3, you know of. But a lot of people don't realize how much of that is actually French.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that France is the home of art, luxury, fashion, two of the biggest game companies in the world with Ubisoft and Gameloft, as well as, like the Sandbox and other things like that. So there's already this DNA that kind of fits with where Web3 is at today, which is addressing a lot of things in art and fashion and luxury and video games. You combine that with the French tech ecosystem, startup ecosystem, which is really, I think today, the strongest on many metrics in Europe, creates this fantastic space. So we built a physical gallery that serves as the physical hub of the ecosystem for meetings, for events, for all these kind of things, but also to democratize Web3. 1 million people walk in front of the building a week because they're going to the museum. A couple thousand of them come in the front door. They all ask, what's an NFT? Our team is amazing at being able to explain the digital art side and then taking that further into the idea of what is all this utility that we talk about with supply chain and logistics or digital identity or the digital twins of real things plus an NFT or the metaverse, all these amazing things. So the NFT Factory is that physical space that's really celebrating this amazing digital thing we now live in.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think part of Web Summit is also trying to celebrate, that. I would really want to know, so you did a couple of panels here yesterday, is that right? What were those panels about? What do you talk about?
The first panel was around kind of adoption and this issue that we have today with, when you're in Web3, especially if you've been in this space since kind of crypto from before that, you kind of feel like it's already this huge thing.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's still very small compared to all of the people in the world that need to use it. Yep. And so adoption is really, for me, one of the most important, if not the most important subject, because before any of the startups or the companies or people here can actually sell or deploy the thing they're building, you need users.
Oh.
And today we have, whatever the number is, 50 million, 100 million people in the world that have wallets where they're actually doing something with. Yeah. It's not as big as number of people as people think, and it's a far cry from the 8 billion people in the world that are today already using their cell phones, using mobile apps, things like that. So adoption is the first one. How do we stop talking about Web3 and NFTs and just start deploying solutions so that people use it? Because the point is not that people are like, oh, I do NFTs, or oh, I have a wallet. It's I do this thing with my phone and it creates value for me. Like I use Insta or I use WhatsApp or whatever. So that's the first thing, is adoption. And then the second panel was on blockchain marketing, because one of the most interesting spaces today for corporates or for communities, because a lot of when we talk about Web3, one of the main things that we might talk about is this idea of community.
Yeah.
Helping brands get closer to their users, to their customers, to their fans. Yeah. And Web3 is really interesting for that because it creates this proximity. It creates the opportunity of enabling, if you're a fan of an artist or a brand, the ability to have basically a one-to-one relationship with them because you hold this asset.
Yeah.
And so adoption on one hand is getting more people into it. And the blockchain marketing piece is very much this idea of the toolbox that brands and corporates today are discovering and leveraging to be able to create more value and engage with community.
Ethan, oh my God, you have, I don't know how to fit all of the knowledge that you have into one session, but you spoke about France and how things are changing there and how it's always been a hub of arts and, technology and Web3. I mean, there was always that within, the DNA of Paris. But let's talk about geographies. I mean, you're in Hong Kong now. Are there certain regions of the world that you really see as the most promising areas where Web3 is especially growing?
So one of the things we see with Web3, I think, is, well, also with the pandemic, startups and tech in general went remote.
Yeah.
So people are building stuff everywhere. Yeah. Well, Web3, because a lot of this is about decentralization or about a distributed whatever, depending on the subject, but that's even more so on this kind of remote idea. But you do see that people tend to congregate in hubs because they work with each other. They need something can help others with something. There's the investment side. There's still the physical community outside of the digital community of this. So even though Web3 is everywhere, in terms of the people building stuff, you do see ecosystems that have more of something depending on whatever they bring to the table. So you see Singapore, which is incredibly strong in crypto because of the monetary authority of Singapore and how they've approached it in the past. You see things like Dubai, where a lot of people are putting funds because it's a very interesting place to be able to do that. Then you see other places in the world, whether it's New York or San Francisco or LA in the US, because of the strengths of those places historically for finance or entertainment or for startups. You see France for the reasons that we mentioned. And then to the obvious one, you see Hong Kong, which is waking up from obviously a very long and arduous pandemic journey for Hong Kong. I was here a lot before the pandemic. I haven't been back in 4 years. And so that's, for me, but it feels like yesterday, even though it's been 4 years. And that seems to be the case for many of the people that are here. They were here 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is with this event, for example, that I think is fascinating, is it really showcases when you walk around town, when you're here, there's an energy. Hong Kong is definitely wanting the world to know that it is back. Yeah. It is back in terms of the innovation economy. It is back in terms of expats and other people who are either living here or coming through here a lot. So the business side really is able to do its thing again. Yeah. And then very much so Web3. Because with Animoca, which is one of the most important companies in this space, with so much of the tech ecosystem that was here before, with people like Casey Lau, who runs Rise, the big conference here historically, but is also now somebody who is incredibly implicated in Web3. Yeah. All of that is bringing the focus here on amazing things in Web3 in Hong Kong. So I think there are a lot of places that start to show up, but I've been telling people, when we look at Web3 in 2 years, you're going to see an awful lot of Web3 that's French and an awful lot of it that's in Hong Kong.
Wow, that is exciting, and I'm happy to hear that. One last question, back to NFT Factory, is what's next for you?
Yeah, so we just opened in October. If you're passing through Paris, it's check to make sure we're open because we have exhibits and different things, but we're usually open like Wednesday to Saturday, so you can come on in. So it's fulfilling its role as this piece of the ecosystem as a gallery, but also the hub. Yeah. We just had Paris Blockchain Week last week. We had NFT Paris a couple weeks before that. Yeah. Both of those brought in a ton of the world's kind of leading figures in Web3 and NFTs. Yeah. And the benefit is that at the NFT factory, like last week, we had like 9 or 10 private events where brands wanted to use the space, wanted to create community, wanted to bring their community in there. And so it's fulfilling its role there. A couple weeks ago, Centre Pompidou, which is the largest contemporary art museum in the world, which is across the street from us, we're very strategically located, just announced the first acquisition for a permanent exhibition for a museum of its kind in the world of NFTs. So they've acquired, or they will acquire 18 NFTs for their permanent exhibition. One of them is a CryptoPunk, and then there's a bunch of other things. Our artistic director and curator advised them on that because we've created a bit of a relationship with them. All those little points are interesting because it means we're actually accomplishing what we wanted to do. We're helping the ecosystem learn. We're helping it connect, and it's growing up. So next stage is it just keeps doing what it's doing. We do more in Paris. We help more brands and more artists and more entrepreneurs figure this out. And then maybe crossing fingers, we maybe build it some other places too. So we'll see how that goes.
That sounds like a plan. Sick question though. I mean, this one's I just came up with it because I had no idea that, the largest contemporary art museum, which has not been digital, right? It's strictly been your typical art museum.
Right.
Now was going to introduce NFTs. Do you see people from NFT factory going more to the museum, or people from the museum selling more to NFT factory?
So it's interesting there. The digital art has been around since the 60s. So the NFT version of, NFTs or digital art is not NFTs. You can have digital art without the NFT. The NFT is bringing two very important things for digital art, or for a lot of other things like luxury products, or even something like a pair of New Balance sneakers or whatever. It proves authenticity, proves that the thing that the NFT is attached to is real, and it proves ownership, that I'm the person who currently has that. And so NFTs bring value and utility to digital art, but it already exists in terms of that. So if you were to go to a museum like MoMA in New York or Centre Pompidou, you'd already see screens with digital art on it. The point is that now we're seeing the NFT piece of that. That is, the art has been, most likely it was born as an NFT in terms of digital art. But we're also going to see lots of digital art that was not an NFT get NFT'd. We're going to see lots of paintings or sculptures or other art that's going to get an NFT twin attached to it to prove authenticity and ownership. And so I think a lot of people who are into the digital art side of NFTs are already into digital art in general, but it's definitely a gateway for people who are discovering digital art through NFTs. They are definitely getting into the art and culture side of this more and more. So I think that's very true. And then there was a great little anecdote. We always tell people that we are across the street from Pompidou, and that makes it really easy to find us. And their curator, and this is hearsay because it's our, well, not hearsay, but our artistic director told me. So if the guy from Pompidou says I'm misquoting him, the quote was basically, "Yeah, that's true. You're across the street from us, but pretty soon we're just going to start telling people we're across the street from the NFT factory," which is tongue in cheek. But the reality is there is an interesting shift where right now, digital art with an NFT, through an NFT or as an NFT, is the outlier in the digital art and art world. But within the next few years, most art will have some kind of NFT idea probably linked to it, simply because of authenticity and ownership. The same thing true with, if you go buy a Breitling watch today, they all come with an NFT that prove you own it and that it's real. And without the NFT, it's actually worth nothing in the store because you don't own it. We're going to see so many products or so many places where it's NFT doesn't matter. It's a digital collectible, or it's a proof of ownership, or we can forget the vocabulary. But this utility is going to get attached to it so much of the world around us because it solves a problem. So super cool things happening.
Wow, this has been invigorating, to say the least. I'm sure you get that a lot. You have this infectious energy, all of these ideas.
I do. It's a great subject.
Fun facts and information and trivia, and it's been amazing having you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was lovely. And thanks for everything you've done to make the conference so great for us to be able to come. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. So kind of you.